The mountain wind cuts through my jacket like ice as I sit here with a broken ankle, watching my son's taillights disappear down the trail. 20 minutes ago, Tyler looked at me bleeding on these rocks and said the words that changed everything. "You're just a burden, Dad. Figure it out yourself." 35 years I raised him alone after his mother died. Worked 2 jobs so he could have everything. Sacrificed my prime years so he could build his future. 6 hours ago, I was planning to tell him about the $8 million I inherited from his uncle. Money that would have solved every problem in his life. Now I'm reaching for my satellite phone to make sure he never sees a penny of it. You see, Tyler thinks he just freed himself from a burden. What he doesn't know is that he just freed me from something much heavier. The illusion that my son actually loved me. But that's not even the worst part of this story. Before I tell you what I did next, drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever had someone you love show you their true colors at the worst possible moment? And make sure you're subscribed, because what happens when Tyler finds out about that money? Well, let's just say some lessons cost more than others. The real story starts 3 months ago when my brother Bill died. Let me take you back to where this started. 35 years ago, my wife Sarah died when Tyler was only 8. Cancer took her in 6 months. I held her hand in that hospital bed as she made me promise something that would shape the rest of my life. "David," she whispered, "promise me you'll love Tyler unconditionally. He'll need you more than ever." I promised. And I kept that promise through everything. I quit my engineering job to be home when Tyler got off the school bus. Worked 2 jobs, maintenance during the day, security at night. Slept 4 hours if I was lucky. But Tyler never came home to an empty house. Our first camping trip was when he turned 10. Just the 2 of us in these same Wyoming mountains. He was scared of the dark, so I stayed up all night keeping the fire burning. In the morning, he said, "Dad, you're the bravest person I know." I thought I was raising him right, teaching him values, showing him what love looked like. But I never expected. That night by Sarah's hospital bed, I made another promise I never told Tyler about. I swore I'd protect him from everything. Poverty, fear, loneliness, whatever it took. For the next 15 years, I worked myself to the bone, saved every penny for his college fund. When Tyler wanted to play guitar, I bought him lessons even though I ate peanut butter sandwiches for 2 months. When he needed a car for high school, I took out a loan I'm still paying off. College cost me everything. Remortgaged the house twice. Sold my father's watch, my wedding ring, anything valuable. But Tyler graduated debt-free while his friends struggled with student loans. I thought I was building his character, teaching him the value of sacrifice. The night he graduated, Tyler hugged me and said, "Dad, I'll never forget what you did for me." I believed him. I thought we had the kind of bond that nothing could break. But by his 25th birthday, something had changed. Tyler moved back home after losing his 3rd job in 2 years, gaming until 3 a.m., credit card bills piling up. He'd look at me like I owed him something. But unconditional does not mean blind. The first real sign came on Tyler's 26th birthday. I'd planned a small party, just us, made his favorite dinner, Mom's lasagna recipe. He showed up 3 hours late, reeking of alcohol. "Sorry, Dad. Lost track of time playing online poker." He sat at the table, barely touched the food I'd spent all day preparing. Then his phone rang, some girl giggling on the other end. "Tyler, it's your birthday dinner," I said quietly. He put his hand over the phone. "Dad, this is important. Can we do this family stuff later?" Family stuff. That's what he called our time together. I watched him walk out that door, phone pressed to his ear, leaving me alone with cold lasagna and melted birthday candles. That's when the knot formed in my stomach. This tight, cold feeling that something fundamental had shifted. But I told myself it was just a phase. Young men need to find themselves, right? He'd come around. The boy who used to help me fix our old truck was still in there somewhere. I kept making excuses for him. Kept believing love would be enough. I thought it was just a phase. 3 months ago, everything changed. My brother Bill called me from Seattle. We hadn't spoken in 2 years. He was always too busy with his tech company, too important for family calls. "David?" His voice was different, weak. "I need to see you. It's urgent." I drove 16 hours straight to his hospital bedside. Bill looked nothing like the confident CEO I remembered. Cancer had taken 50 pounds from his frame. "I'm dying, David. Weeks, maybe days."
He gripped my hand with surprising strength. "I need to tell you something about my will. I expected some small token, maybe his watch, or a few $1,000s. Bill had always been successful, but I figured most of his money would go to charity. David, you're my only living relative. Everything comes to you." He handed me a folder marked confidential. $8.2 million, plus the property in Montana. I stared at the papers, bank statements, investment portfolios, real estate deeds, numbers that didn't make sense to a man who'd struggled paycheck to paycheck his entire life. "Why me, Bill? We barely stayed in touch." "Because you're the only person I trust to use it right. You have a good heart, David. Always did." He died 2 days later.
I decided to keep it a secret. Standing in Bill's lawyer's office, signing papers that made me instantly wealthy, I felt overwhelmed. $8 million. More money than I'd ever dreamed of. But my first thought wasn't about myself. It was about Tyler. This could change his life, pay off his debts, give him the fresh start he needed. Maybe having financial security would bring back the son I remembered, the one who used to say I was his hero. I decided to test him first. Not because I didn't trust Tyler, but because I wanted the moment to be perfect. I'd plan a camping trip to these same mountains where we'd made our best memories, just father and son, away from distractions. I'd tell him about the inheritance there. But first, I wanted to secure Tyler's future in another way. I met with my insurance agent and bought a $2 million life insurance policy, made Tyler the sole beneficiary. "Mr. Reynolds, this is a substantial policy for someone your age," the agent said. "My son deserves security," I replied. "He's all I have left." I signed the papers that same afternoon. Tyler would inherit $2 million if anything happened to me, and he didn't even know it existed. The camping trip was set for the following month. I imagined Tyler's face when I told him. The relief, the joy. Maybe he'd hug me like he used to, but there's something Tyler doesn't know. 2 weeks after setting up the insurance policy, Tyler brought someone home. Her name was Amber Collins, and she attached herself to Tyler like plastic wrap. "Dad, this is my girlfriend," Tyler announced, his arm around a blonde woman who looked at our modest house like she was calculating its value. Amber was all smiles and charm, too much charm, the kind that felt rehearsed. "Mr. Reynolds, Tyler talks about you constantly," she said, but her eyes were scanning our living room, lingering on the old furniture and faded carpet. During dinner, she asked questions that made me uncomfortable. "So, Tyler, you mentioned your dad has life insurance? That's smart planning for the future?" Tyler laughed. "Amber's practical about these things, Dad. She works in finance." "I'm a bartender," she corrected quickly, "but I understand money management." Over the following weeks, Amber was always around, always steering conversations toward finances, inheritance, future plans. She'd make comments like, "Tyler, you're so patient taking care of your dad. Not many sons would sacrifice their prime years." I watched Tyler change under her influence. He started looking at me differently, like I was an obligation instead of his father. When I'd ask him to help with yard work, he'd roll his eyes and say, "Amber thinks I should focus on my own future." The knot in my stomach grew tighter. I didn't know Amber had plans. The shift started small. Tyler used to help me with weekend projects around the house. We'd work in the garage together, fixing things, talking about life. It was our time. One Saturday morning, I asked him to help me move some heavy boxes to the attic. My back wasn't what it used to be. "Dad, I'm not your employee," Tyler said without looking up from his phone. "Figure it out yourself." The words hit me like cold water. I stood there holding a box that felt heavier than it should, watching my son scroll through his phone while Amber painted her nails on our couch. "Tyler, it's just a few boxes," I said quietly, "and I'm just one person. I have plans today." His plans were playing video games with Amber draped across his lap. I spent the next 3 hours moving those boxes alone. My back screamed with each trip up the ladder. By evening, I could barely stand straight. Tyler noticed me wincing at dinner. "Dad, you should probably see a doctor about that back. At your age, you need to be more careful." At my age, like I was some fragile old man instead of his father, who'd worked 2 jobs to put him through college. Amber nodded sympathetically. It's hard when parents start needing more help than they can give. That's just the beginning. 2 weeks later, Tyler crossed a line I never thought he'd cross. I was paying bills at the kitchen table when he walked in, Amber close behind. His face was tight with stress. "Dad, I need $5,000. I looked up from my checkbook. $5,000? Tyler, what for? Credit cards. I'm maxed out and they're threatening collections. He sat down across from me, but his posture was demanding, not asking. You have to help me. Have to? The words came out sharper than I intended. Yes, have to. You're my father. It's your job to support your family. I thought about the $8 million sitting in my new bank account. The money that could solve Tyler's problems instantly. But something in his tone stopped me cold. Tyler, you're 35 years old. I've supported you plenty. His face darkened. Supported me? Dad, you gave me the bare minimum. Other parents help their kids buy houses, start businesses. You made me work for everything. Amber stepped forward. Mr. Reynolds, Tyler sacrificed his young adult years taking care of you after his mother died. He deserves some return on that investment. Investment. She called Tyler's childhood an investment. I'm not giving you $5,000, I said quietly. Tyler slammed his hand on the table. Then you're a selfish old man. I started to see the pattern. The breaking point came at our neighbor's barbecue 3 weeks ago. I thought it would be good for Tyler and me to get out together, be social, show Amber our community. The Hendersons had invited the whole neighborhood. Kids playing in the yard, adults around the grill sharing stories, normal family stuff. I was talking to Jim Henderson about his new truck when Tyler interrupted. Sorry, Jim, but my dad doesn't really understand modern vehicles. He still thinks cars should last 20 years. The group laughed, but it wasn't friendly laughter. Tyler continued, Dad's from a different generation. Sometimes I feel like I'm explaining everything to him twice. My face burned. These were my neighbors, people I'd known for years. Amber joined the conversation. It's so hard for older people to adapt. Tyler's basically become the parent in their relationship. Amber, I said quietly. What? It's true. You depend on Tyler for everything now. I wanted to defend myself. To tell them about the engineering degree I'd earned, the complex systems I'd designed for 30 years. But standing there surrounded by people I'd barbecued with for decades, I felt small. Tyler didn't correct her. He just nodded along while his girlfriend painted me as a burden. I went home early that night, alone, but I still hope camping will be different. Planning the camping trip felt like walking on broken glass. Every conversation with Tyler ended in arguments. Why do you want to go camping anyway? Tyler asked when I brought it up. We're not kids anymore, Dad. I thought it would be nice, like old times. Old times when I had no choice but to follow you around. But I pressed on. I'd already made reservations at our old campsite. Already imagined the moment I'd tell Tyler about the inheritance, how his face would change when he realized his financial problems were over. Fine, Tyler finally agreed. But Amber comes too, and we're bringing my friends Mike and Jenny. I'm not spending 3 days listening to you talk about the past. It wasn't what I'd planned, but I said yes. Maybe having others around would make Tyler more comfortable. Maybe he'd be on his best behavior. I spent the week before the trip organizing everything. Bought new camping gear, planned meals, even packed Tyler's favorite snacks from when he was young. In my backpack, I carefully placed the insurance policy documents and bank statements. My surprise gift. The night before we left, I couldn't sleep. Tomorrow I'd tell Tyler about the $8 million. About how I wanted to share everything with him. I didn't know it would be the last trip. The drive to our campsite took 4 hours. Tyler rode in the passenger seat, earbuds in, ignoring my attempts at conversation. Amber, Mike, and Jenny followed in their own car. When we reached the campground, memories flooded back. The same pine trees, the same mountain views, the same spot where Tyler had once told me I was the bravest person he knew. This place hasn't changed, I said, climbing out of the truck. That's the problem, Tyler muttered, surveying the rustic campsite with obvious disappointment. We set up our tents in awkward silence. I worked alone while Tyler and his friends talked about cell phone reception and where they could charge their devices. There's no Wi-Fi here, Amber complained. That's the point, I said. Sometimes it's good to disconnect. Mike laughed. Mr. Reynolds, you sound like my grandfather. I smiled, trying to stay positive. This was bear country, real wilderness. I'd planned to tell Tyler about the inheritance during our hike tomorrow morning, just the two of us in nature,
like the old days. The sun was setting behind the mountains. Golden light filtered through the pines. By noon, everything changed. Saturday morning started perfectly. Clear skies, crisp mountain air, the kind of day that makes you grateful to be alive. I suggested we hike the trail to Lookout Point. It was Tyler's favorite spot when he was young. The plan was simple. Get Tyler alone on the trail, find the right moment, and tell him about the $8 million.
Dad, this trail is too easy, Tyler said as we started walking. We should take the advanced route. The advanced trail is rocky this time of year, I warned. Last week's rain would have made it slippery. But Tyler was already leading the group up the steeper path. The same stubborn independence I'd once admired was now working against us. An hour into the hike, it happened. I was navigating a particularly tricky section of wet limestone when my right foot slipped. The world tilted sideways. I hit the ground hard, my ankle twisting at an unnatural angle. The pain was immediate and sickening, white-hot electricity shooting up my leg. "Dad!" Tyler called out, but his voice carried more annoyance than concern. I tried to stand. The ankle buckled immediately. Something was definitely broken. "I can't walk," I said, testing my weight again. "I think I need help getting back." That's when Tyler showed his true nature. The group gathered around me on the rocky trail. My ankle was already swelling, turning dark purple. Each heartbeat sent fresh waves of pain up my leg. "Okay," I said, trying to stay calm. "I'm going to need someone to help me walk back to camp." Mike stepped forward immediately. "Mr. Reynolds, I can support your weight. Jenny and I can get you back safely." But Tyler held up his hand. "Hold on. Let's think about this logically." I looked up at my son, expecting him to take charge, to be the leader I'd raised him to be. "Dad, you're not exactly lightweight. It's 3 miles back to camp, mostly downhill on wet rocks." Tyler's voice was cold, calculating. "If someone gets hurt trying to carry you, we'll have 2 injured people." "Tyler, I just need someone to lean on," I said quietly. "No, Dad, you need more than that. You're asking us to risk our own safety because you insisted on taking the dangerous trail." Amber nodded vigorously. "Tyler's right. We're not professional rescuers." I stared at my son. This was the boy I'd carried on my shoulders when he was tired. The teenager I'd taught to drive in empty parking lots. The young man I'd sacrificed everything for. "I'm not your pack mule, Dad." The words cut deeper than the physical pain, but worse is coming. What happened next will replay in my mind forever. Tyler turned to address Mike, Jenny, and Amber as if I weren't lying broken at their feet. "Look, guys, my dad has been a burden for years. This is just the latest example." My heart stopped. The mountain air suddenly felt too thin to breathe. "Tyler," I whispered, but he kept talking. "I've been financially supporting him, emotionally supporting him, and now he wants us to physically support him too." Mike looked uncomfortable. "Tyler, he's your father." "Yeah, and I've carried him long enough." Tyler's voice grew louder, more confident in his cruelty. "At some point you have to accept that old people become liabilities." Amber stepped closer to Tyler, emboldened. "Tyler has sacrificed his entire adult life taking care of his dad. He deserves to live for himself now." I tried to speak, but no words came. The child I'd raised, the son I'd loved unconditionally, standing over me like I was garbage. "This is what I mean," Tyler continued. "He gets himself into these situations and expects everyone else to fix them. Have you ever been publicly humiliated by someone you love? What would you do in my situation? Let me know in the comments." Jenny finally spoke up. "This is really uncomfortable, Tyler." But it was too late. Tyler had shown everyone who he really was. Then Tyler said the last sentence. Tyler looked down at me one final time. His eyes were empty of everything I'd spent 35 years putting there. Love, respect, basic human decency. "You guys go ahead back to camp," he announced to the group. "I'll call for a ranger to come get him." My blood turned to ice water. "Tyler, please don't leave me here. Dad, you'll be fine. The rangers have equipment for this kind of thing. It's better for everyone." But I could see what was really happening. Tyler was already packing up his day bag. Amber was checking her phone for the time. They weren't planning to call anyone. "Tyler," I said again, louder now. "You can't leave me here alone. Watch me." Mike and Jenny exchanged horrified looks. "Tyler, this isn't right," Jenny said. "What's not right is guilt-tripping people into dangerous rescues," Amber snapped. "Come on, Tyler. We have dinner reservations in town." "Dinner reservations. While I sat here with a broken ankle in bear territory, I watched my son walk away, listened to their voices fade down the mountain trail, the sound of boots on stone growing quieter and quieter until only wilderness remained. The sun was already setting, temperature dropping fast. In a few hours, this place would belong to the animals. I sat there alone when the night fell. I sat there alone when the night fell. Night comes fast in the mountains. One moment you can see the trail ahead. The next you're surrounded by shapes that could be trees or something else entirely. I sat on that cold stone, back against a pine tree, listening to sounds I didn't want to identify. Rustling in the underbrush, distant howls, the kind of noises that remind you how small and vulnerable you are. My ankle had swollen to twice its normal size. The pain was constant now, a dull throb that matched my heartbeat. But the physical hurt was nothing compared to what Tyler had done to my soul. 35 years. Every birthday party I'd planned alone after Sarah died. Every school play I'd attended, sitting in audiences full of couples while I cheered for our son by myself. Every sacrifice I'd made gladly because I thought I was building something beautiful. A family, a bond, a legacy of love. The temperature was dropping toward freezing. My jacket wasn't meant for overnight camping. I could already feel the cold seeping into my bones. That's when I remembered the satellite phone in my backpack. That's when I remembered the satellite phone. I pulled the satellite phone from my backpack with numb fingers. The LED screen glowed blue in the darkness. Full signal strength. For a moment I considered calling for rescue, getting myself safely off this mountain, going home and pretending this nightmare never happened. But then Tyler's words echoed in my mind. He's just a burden now. Sitting there in the wilderness, broken and abandoned, something crystallized inside me, a cold, clear understanding. Tyler had shown me exactly who he was, not in a moment of anger or frustration, but in a deliberate, calculated act of cruelty, in front of witnesses, without shame. I thought about the $8 million in my bank account, the $2 million insurance policy with Tyler's name on it, all the financial security I'd planned to surprise him with tomorrow. Tyler wanted to be free of his burden? Fine. I could give him exactly what he'd asked for. My fingers found the lawyer's number in the phone's memory. 3 hours behind mountain time meant it was still business hours in California. "This is David Reynolds," I said when the receptionist answered. "I need to speak with Mr. Harrison immediately. It's about changing my will." First call. "David, it's nearly 8 p.m. here," my lawyer Tom Harrison said. "This must be urgent." "I'm in the mountains, Tom. My son just abandoned me with a broken ankle." My voice was steady, calm, colder than the night air around me. "Jesus Christ, are you safe? Do you need rescue? I need you to change my will. Tonight." Silence on the other end. Tom had handled my legal affairs for 15 years. He'd never heard this tone from me before. "David, you're obviously under stress. Maybe we should discuss this when you're back home." Tyler left me to die, Tom. He called me a burden in front of 4 witnesses. Then he walked away. I let that sink in. I want him removed from my will completely. Your current will leaves everything to Tyler. Not anymore. I want everything to go to the Bear Protection Foundation. Every penny. Tom was quiet for a long moment. "David, are you certain about this?" "I've never been more certain of anything in my life." "I'll draft the papers tonight. We'll need your signature when you return." "Thank you, Tom." Second call. The insurance company's 24-hour hotline connected me to a supervisor named Margaret. "Mr. Reynolds, how can I help you tonight?" "I need to report an incident involving my life insurance policy. Policy number 4,471,892 inches. I have your file here." "What kind of incident?" "My son, who is the beneficiary, just committed an act of domestic violence against me. He abandoned me injured in bear territory." I heard rapid typing. "Sir, these are serious allegations. Are you in immediate danger?" "Not anymore. But I need this policy flagged for investigation. Mr. Reynolds, our policy allows for beneficiary review in cases of violence or abuse. I can place a 30-day hold on the benefits while we investigate." "Do it. I'll need a written statement and any witness information when you return home." "You'll have everything you need." Margaret's voice softened. "Sir, are you safe where you are now?" "I'm exactly where I need to be." After ending the call, I sat in the darkness and smiled for the first time in hours. Tyler had no idea what he'd just lost. Last call. My financial advisor, Bill McKenna, answered on the second ring. David? It's past 11 on the East Coast. Everything okay? Bill, remember that inheritance we discussed? The $8 million from my brother? Of course. We just finished setting up your investment portfolio last week. I want to move all of it into an irrevocable charitable trust. Tonight. Bill paused. David, that's a major decision. Irrevocable means you can't change your mind. Ever. I understand exactly what it means. What's the beneficiary charity? The Bear Protection Foundation, based in Montana. I looked up at the stars visible through the pine canopy. They protect wilderness areas like this one. David, you sound different. Is everything all right? My son just showed me who he really is, Bill, and it's not someone who deserves $8 million. I could hear Bill typing rapidly. Okay, I can draft the trust documents tonight, but this removes your access to the principal forever. You'll only have your Social Security and the small pension. That's more than enough. And Tyler? Tyler gets exactly what he gave me tonight. Nothing. Jesus, David, what did he do? He set me free, Bill. He just doesn't know it yet. But I'm not done yet. I pulled out a small notebook and pen from my backpack. By the satellite phone's blue glow and my flashlight, I began writing what would become the most important document of my life. The legal language came easily. Years of watching Tom draft documents had taught me the basics. I, David Michael Reynolds, being of sound mind and body, do hereby revoke all previous wills and testaments. The pen felt heavier with each word. I specifically disinherit my son, Tyler James Reynolds, due to his abandonment of me on October 15th in Yellowstone Wilderness area. Tyler left me injured and alone in bear territory after publicly declaring me a burden. My handwriting was steady, clear. No emotion, just facts. All assets, including but not limited to the inheritance from William Reynolds, insurance policies, real estate, and personal property, shall transfer to the Bear Protection Foundation of Montana. I dated it, signed it. I added my address and social security number for verification. This was a holographic will, handwritten, witnessed by my own testimony, legally binding in Wyoming State. Tyler would inherit exactly what he'd earned tonight. Nothing. I folded the document carefully and placed it in my jacket pocket, next to my heart. Now wait for morning. Dawn came slowly to the mountains. Gray light filtered through pine needles, revealing a world covered in frost. My breath formed white clouds in the frigid air. I'd barely slept, but I felt more awake than I had in years. My ankle was a disaster, swollen, purple, probably broken. But my mind was crystal clear. For the first time since Tyler moved back home, I wasn't making excuses for him. Wasn't hoping he'd change. Wasn't sacrificing my dignity for his convenience. The satellite phone showed 3 missed calls from Tyler. I deleted them without listening. Around 7 a.m., I heard the distinctive whump-whump of helicopter rotors echoing off canyon walls. Someone had finally called for rescue. I gathered my backpack and prepared to face whatever came next. The old David would have been worried about Tyler's feelings, concerned about family relationships, eager to minimize conflict. This David was different, peaceful, free. The helicopter grew louder, circling to find a landing spot. Soon there would be questions, medical checks, paperwork. But the hardest work was already done. I'd spent 35 years building a relationship with someone who didn't exist. The Tyler I'd loved was a fantasy. The real Tyler had revealed himself last night, and now we both knew exactly where we stood. Tyler's on his way back. The rescue helicopter landed in a meadow 200 yards from my position. 2 paramedics and a park ranger hiked up to find me. Mr. Reynolds? I'm Ranger Martinez. Are you injured? Broken ankle, I think. Happened yesterday afternoon. Yesterday? The ranger looked confused. We just got the call this morning at 6 a.m. Who called? Your son. Said he'd been looking for you all night. Martinez examined my ankle with professional efficiency. Sir, if you were injured yesterday, why didn't anyone call sooner? I looked him in the eye. My son left me here, deliberately. The paramedics exchanged glances. Mr. Reynolds, that's a serious accusation. It's a serious situation. Martinez took notes while the medics stabilized my ankle. Can you tell me exactly what happened? I gave them the facts. No emotion, no interpretation, just the timeline of events. Your son abandoned you in bear territory with a broken ankle? The disbelief in Martinez's voice was clear. That's correct. Mr. Reynolds, that's potentially criminal negligence. As they loaded me onto a stretcher, I heard familiar voices approaching. Tyler was hiking up the trail, Amber beside him, both looking appropriately concerned for the audience. Tyler just appeared. "Dad! Thank God you're okay!" Tyler rushed toward the stretcher, his face a mask of worry that might have fooled someone who didn't know better. But Ranger Martinez had been taking notes. "Mr. Reynolds, this is your son?" "Unfortunately." Tyler knelt beside the stretcher. "Dad, I've been searching all night. When we got back to camp and realized you weren't behind us, I panicked." "Is that so?" Martinez consulted his notepad. "Mr. Reynolds, you said your son abandoned you yesterday around 5 p.m. Tyler's face went pale. No. There's been a misunderstanding. Dad gets confused sometimes. His memory isn't what it used to be." Amber stepped forward. "Officer, David has been showing signs of dementia. Tyler's been his primary caregiver." I watched this performance with scientific detachment. They were digging themselves deeper with every lie. "Gentlemen," I said calmly, "there were 4 witnesses to what happened yesterday. Mike and Jenny Morrison from Casper, Wyoming. They can verify everything." Tyler's confident expression cracked. "Dad, you're obviously traumatized." "I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years, son." The medics were ready to move me to the helicopter. Tyler tried to follow. "Family only," one of them said. Tyler looked at me hopefully. I wait for the right moment. The hospital in Jackson treated my ankle with professional efficiency. X-rays confirmed a clean fracture. 6 weeks in a cast, but I'd heal completely. Tyler stayed by my bedside, playing the dutiful son for doctors and nurses. But his performance felt hollow now. Desperate. "Dad, I know you're upset, but we need to talk about what happened." "We certainly do." "It was an accident, a miscommunication. You know I'd never intentionally hurt you." Dr. Sarah Kim interrupted. "Mr. Reynolds, your son has been very concerned." "He says you've been having memory issues?" "My memory is perfect, Doctor. Every detail from yesterday is crystal clear." Tyler shifted uncomfortably. "Dad, you're embarrassing yourself." "Am I?" A nurse brought discharge papers. Tyler reached for them automatically. "Those are for me," I said, taking the clipboard myself. Something in my tone made Tyler step back. For the first time since this started, he looked genuinely worried. "Dad, are you okay?" "I'm better than I've been in years, Tyler." The drive home would be interesting. Tyler feels something's wrong. Tyler drove with unusual caution, glancing at me every few minutes. The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. "Dad, about yesterday," he finally began. "What about it?" "I think you misunderstood what happened. We were getting help. You were getting dinner reservations." Tyler's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "That's not fair." "Fairness is an interesting concept, Tyler. Let's discuss fairness." "You're acting weird, Dad, really weird." I watched familiar landmarks pass outside the window. Houses where neighbors lived who'd witnessed Tyler's cruelty at the barbecue. Streets where I'd taught him to drive when he was 16. I'm acting like someone who finally sees clearly. Sees what clearly? You, Tyler. I see you. We pulled into our driveway. Tyler killed the engine but didn't move to get out. "Dad, I know I haven't been perfect lately, but we're family. We work through things." "Family." I tested the word like it was foreign. "Is that what we are?" "Of course we are." "Then explain yesterday to me, son. Explain how family treats family." Tyler couldn't meet my eyes. "Coming home." Inside the house, I hobbled to my chair and sat down with a heavy sigh. Tyler hovered nearby, clearly wanting to have some kind of reconciliation conversation. "Tyler, sit down. We need to discuss your living situation." "My living situation?" "You're 35 years old. It's time for you to find your own place." Tyler's face went white. "Dad, what are you talking about? This is my home. This is my house. My name on the deed. My mortgage payments for 30 years. I kept my voice level, matter of fact. "You're welcome to visit, but you don't live here anymore." "You can't be serious. I want you out by the end of the week." Tyler stood up, pacing now. "Dad, this is insane. What's gotten into you?" "Clarity, son. Perfect clarity. You can't just kick me out. I don't have anywhere to go. You should have thought about that yesterday before you called me a burden." The truth of those words hit him like a slap. For a moment, his mask slipped completely. "You can't do this to me," he whispered. "Watch me."
Tyler had no idea that was just the beginning. Tyler moved out on Friday morning. Took only what he could fit in his car since he'd be staying on Amber's couch temporarily.
Over the weekend, my phone rang constantly. Tyler calling to apologize, to explain, to negotiate. I let every call go to voicemail. Dad, please pick up. We need to talk. Dad, I'm sorry about what happened, but this is extreme. Dad, Amber says I should give you space, but this is killing me. Monday morning brought a call from a different number. Mr. Reynolds, this is Patricia Williams from Morrison, Williams and Associates. I represent your son Tyler, a lawyer. Tyler had hired a lawyer. Miss Williams, how can I help you? My client is concerned about your recent behavior. He's prepared to petition for a competency hearing if necessary. I almost laughed. Tyler thinks I'm incompetent? Mr. Reynolds, suddenly evicting your only child and refusing all contact raises questions about your mental state. My mental state is excellent, Miss Williams, but if Tyler wants a legal battle, he'll get one. Sir, he just wants to reconcile with his father. Then he should have thought about that before abandoning his father in bear territory. Then the lawyer called. Tuesday afternoon, Tom Harrison called with news. David, I've been contacted by Tyler's attorney. She's asking about your estate planning. What did you tell her? Nothing, of course. Attorney-client privilege. But David, she seems to think Tyler stands to inherit significantly from you. She's about to learn otherwise. I've prepared your new will based on our conversation. $8 million to the Bear Protection Foundation. Tyler gets nothing. Good. David, I have to ask one more time. Are you absolutely certain about this decision? I thought about Tyler's face when he'd called me a burden, the coldness in his eyes, the calculated cruelty. Tom, I've never been more certain of anything. All right, I'll messenger the documents to Tyler's attorney this afternoon. An hour later, my phone rang. Tyler's number. This time, I answered. You changed your will? Tyler's voice was shaking. Yes. Dad, you can't do this. That money, I was counting on that money. What money, Tyler? Your inheritance, from Uncle Bill. So he'd known. Somehow he'd always known about the $8 million. How long have you known, Tyler? Silence. How long? But there is worse news. Tyler, answer me. How long have you known about Uncle Bill's money? Amber. Amber found some papers, bank statements. We weren't snooping, they were just on your desk. Lies upon lies. But it didn't matter anymore. Dad, you have to change the will back. I'm your son. I'm your only family. You were my family. Past tense. Tyler's voice broke. Please, Dad, I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll be better. Before I could respond, call waiting beeped. Insurance company. Tyler, I have another call. Don't hang up, please. I switched lines. This is David Reynolds. Mr.
Reynolds, this is Margaret from your insurance company. We've completed our preliminary review of your claim. And, based on witness statements and the Ranger's report, we're suspending benefits indefinitely. Your son's actions constitute abandonment with intent to harm. I understand. Mr. Reynolds, this means your son would receive nothing from this policy, even in the event of your death. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I switched back to Tyler. He was still there, breathing heavily. Tyler, I have more news. Your $2 million insurance policy has been canceled. The silence stretched for 10 full seconds. Tyler realizes, scope of loss, beat 31, 240/240th words. $2 million insurance policy? Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. You were the beneficiary. Dad, I never knew about any insurance policy. Just like you never knew about Uncle Bill's $8 million, right? Tyler started crying. Actual tears. Dad, please.
I made a mistake. A huge mistake, but I can fix this. Tyler, some things can't be fixed. What am I supposed to do? I have nothing. No job, no money, no place to live. You should have thought about that sooner. The next day, Tyler called again. This time, his voice was different, hollow. She left me, Dad. Who left you? Amber. When I told her about the will, about the insurance, she packed her bags and moved out. I wasn't surprised. Amber had been sniffing around money from the beginning. She said I was pathetic, just like you. Tyler's laugh was bitter. She said I'd wasted her time. Tyler. She took my car, Dad, said I owed her for rent and utilities. I'm staying at a homeless shelter now. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for him. The parent in me wanted to fix his problems, offer him help. But then I remembered his words. He's just a burden now. 6 months later, my life became surprisingly peaceful after Tyler left. I sold the house, too many memories, and moved into a small apartment across town. Simple, clean, manageable. The $8 million was gone, locked away in the Bear Protection Trust forever. But I didn't miss it. My Social Security and small pension were plenty for one person living simply. I started volunteering at the local animal shelter on weekends. The work felt meaningful in a way my engineering career never had. These animals didn't judge. They just needed care, and got grateful for kindness. Some evenings, I'd drive up to the mountains and sit in my truck, looking at the wilderness where everything changed, where I'd learned to stop being a victim and start being free. I hadn't spoken to Tyler in 3 months. Sometimes I wondered how he was doing, but I never picked up the phone. Then one Saturday afternoon, as I was coming home from the shelter, I found someone sitting on my apartment steps. Tyler. He looked terrible. Thin, unshaven, wearing clothes that had seen better days. When he saw me, he stood up slowly. "Dad, can we talk?" One day Tyler came. I unlocked my apartment door and stepped inside. Tyler followed tentatively, like he wasn't sure he was welcome. He wasn't. "Dad, I know you probably don't want to see me." "That's correct. But I had to come. I had to tell you how sorry I am." I sat in my recliner, the same one from our old house. Tyler remained standing, shifting his weight nervously. "I've been thinking about what I did every single day for 6 months, what I said to you, how I left you there." His voice cracked. "It was the worst thing I've ever done." "Yes, it was. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But Dad, I'm desperate. I lost my job. I'm about to be evicted. I don't have anyone else." I studied my son's face. He looked genuinely remorseful. Broken, even. "Tyler, I accept your apology." Hope flickered in his eyes. "But accepting your apology doesn't mean undoing the consequences of your actions. Dad, please, if you could just lend me enough to get back on my feet." "The decisions I made that night in the mountains are permanent, Tyler." "What about the money? Uncle Bill's money?" Tyler Hoy v. the money. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out an envelope I'd been saving for this moment. "Tyler, I wrote something for you that night in the forest, while I was sitting there alone with my broken ankle, abandoned by my only child." Tyler took the envelope with shaking hands. "Dad, what is this?" "The truth. The whole truth about that night and everything that followed." He tore open the envelope and unfolded 2 handwritten pages. "Read it when you get home, Tyler." "Can I read it now?" "No, this conversation is over." Tyler looked at me with desperate eyes. "Dad, what does this mean for us?" "It means you finally get what you wanted, son. You're free of your burden." I walked to the door and opened it. "Tyler, I spent 35 years loving you unconditionally. You spent one day showing me exactly what that love was worth to you." He clutched the letter against his chest. "Dad, the bears in that forest showed more loyalty than you did." Tyler walked out of my apartment and out of my life. I closed the door and made myself a cup of tea. For the first time in years, I was completely at peace.